Hello, it's Tubuck, and today I have yet another Dell Optiplex that I need to restore, and I figured why not make a little video about it. Yes. Alright, so now since I have it on the bench, this is a Optiplex GX270 running a Pentium 4, and my knowledge about it ends there. So, let's go ahead and open this up. Okay, so first observation, this thing is a little dusty, a little caked up, but, nothing bad. This is a normal office computer level of dust. The second thing I notice is this is a SB0200, and if I remember correctly, this is a Dell OEM version of the Sound Blaster Live, and it only has support for Windows XP, and I'm not settled on my operating system yet, but if I wanted to put Windows 98 on here, that's really going to chafe my willy. The graphics card, I'm not even going to bother to figure out what it is. It's probably some GeForce card. I don't like the I/O on it. Anybody who's interested in a computer like this expects a VGA port. I mean, I would too, so that's not doing me much good. We have a dial-up card. Gonna take that out because, yeah. And some kind of Ethernet card. It's hopefully gigabit, but I mean, it could be fast Ethernet. I don't know how much memory that is. Could be 512. It could be a gigabyte. Ooh, probably a gigabyte. Um, yeah, I've already spotted two swelling caps. So those are gonna have to come out, and I'll have to go through my collection, and maybe I'll have some capacitors that I'll be able to replace them with without having to order anything, because I don't really want to wait around on that. I'll just switch projects and you'll never see this video. So chances are, if you're watching this, I did have the caps, and that's why I did this video. Okay. Whoever took the hard drive out of this computer actually did me a solid here and left the sleds in. That's very rare. Most people, when they take the hard drives out of these, just leave the sleds on the hard drive, and then I don't have sleds. Ooh, and look at this. All the spare sleds. How wonderful. I'm so happy. Let's go ahead and hook it up. I want to see what happens. I don't really expect that this will be catching fire or anything, so let's go ahead and see what happens. Alright, so all I had to do was reseat the memory, and here we are. So that's a good sign. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Alright, 1 gigabyte and a Pentium 4 at 3 gigahertz. Ooh, that's fancy. I guess my next course of action here is going to be to go ahead and disassemble this thing, because it needs work. Alright, so I've got the board assembly out here, and yeah, I've got a lot of recapping to do on this board, because I spotted this guy right here. I mean, you can see that's pretty messed up, but most of these capacitors alongside the CPU here are toast. I'm gonna go through my collection, and chances are, again, I mean, I guess I find some if you're watching this. So, okay, so I have the motherboard out of the motherboard assembly, and great, I've got a, let's see, let's get on there. This back plate here is right where I need to get to the bottom of these capacitors, so that's got to come off. Since I'm holding this like this, let's see if we can't get it ready. Yeah, look at that. They've probably caused a little bit of corrosion on the board too. So yeah. Okay, so I just read the values on this one, 6.3 volts, 1800 microfarads. Yeah, chances are I've got a lot of those. So, time to go digging. Well, I thought maybe before I went looking on old motherboards to see if I could find any to steal, I went through the bit of capacitors I've purchased, and would you look at this? Whoo! 1800 microfarads, 6.3 volts. So I have 11 of them. So I guess it's about time to get those old ones off. See how the motherboard's looking underneath those capacitors. There might be a nasty surprise under there, depending on what orientation this computer has been stored in. And, for anybody who wants to do a similar recapping of this board, you will face an obstacle in getting this backplate off. Now, this isn't screwed on. It uses these little annoying plastic tabs. They suck ass. Alright, so I got it up, but I was a little overzealous with one of the corners, and this is how it's supposed to look. This little flat bit at the top, I broke that off on this corner. So that sucks. And the bottom of it is just all mauled up. I can't get this camera to focus, but yeah, it's not pretty. And besides, I mean, this backplate is held on with plastic, and I wouldn't really be comfortable trying to reuse these anyway. So I'm going to have to find another way to mount this backplate and heatsink mount back onto the board. Okay, so those plastic tabs aren't going to work out. So I was going through my screws, and the first screws I grabbed, UNC 32s, fit perfect. And I didn't even need to use a nut or anything. They threaded through the hole perfectly. But my one problem is they are too long. And I can't use a washer to offset this because that will raise the head of the screw too high to the point where it's higher than the CPU, and then the heatsink isn't going to make contact. So that would totally defeat the purpose of all of this. So I don't have any shorter ones, and since I already had the capacitors laying around, I mean, I may as well try to make do and not order anything, so I'm going to trim these screws a bit. Okay, so never mind. I managed to avoid having to trim the screws by just using smaller nuts that fit in the little recesses. So now the screws are not high enough that they contact the CPU heatsink, and they don't stick out enough to touch the back of the case. And I've tried sliding this into the motherboard assembly, and it fits great. So brief note, I did go ahead and reassemble this because I want to make sure that it works after all that fooling around trying to get the heatsink assembly off. So yeah, it's still working, so it's recapping time. And by the way, here's a better view of those caps. Yeah, they're dead. Alright, all 9 capacitors are off the board. Here they are. Yuck. Get those out of here. Now I'm going to clean up my holes a little bit and insert the new ones. Alright, so all 9 1800 microfarad capacitors have been replaced. And I've got one small 1500 microfarad that I need to replace there. So I'm going to go dig around and try to find one. Alright, I found a suitable replacement. The one I'm replacing, this busted one here, is 1500 microfarads at 6.3 volts. And I have 1500 microfarads at 16 volts. And from what I gather, using a higher voltage is usually always fine. So let's put that on. Alright, so I have the last capacitor installed. And it is taller, so that might be a little annoying while changing memory, but it's not a big deal. Not a big deal. And while I'm in here, I'm going to replace the CR2032 just because it's easier to get to it when you have the board out. Alright, I got everything put back together, and it's time to try to put it all back together and see if everything's still working. Alright, giving it juice. What do you know? It works! How wonderful! Alright, so it works. We got it recapped. And now it's time for cleaning. So I'm going to take it out to the garage and hit it with an air compressor. And I'll be back. We got a couple of huge scratches here. And I'm going to try magic eraser and see what I can make happen. It did affect the finish of the case just a little bit, but you can only see it under really, really good lighting conditions, and it's just a trade-off. It's better than the scratches for sure. Alright, I'm done cleaning it for now, and it does look a lot better. Huge step up. I'm not done yet, but it's good enough for now, and I'm going to go ahead and reassemble everything, and it'll be Windows time. Okay, so the SB0200 is just not really going to work for this system. It's not even really a real sound blaster. I don't think it has hardware acceleration. And getting it to work on Windows 98 is a mixed bag. I hear some people have success with it. I saw in a couple of threads, but I do have a CT4780 Sound Blaster Live, which I should have more luck with, I think. I'm not exactly a Sound Blaster expert by any means, so I've used this model a couple of times in the past and have had luck with it, so we'll go with that. Well, the graphics card that was in it before is a GeForce MX 440, and I just, that's a sad IO. Don't really like it. Bleh. Okay, so this is also kind of a dime a dozen card, but this is a 9200 SE. It's got 128 megabytes of RAM, and it'll work great for Windows 98 or Windows XP. So I'm going to switch out for this. The Ethernet card is a 10100 card, so that's fast Ethernet. I don't really see a problem with it. We're going to stick with it. Yeah. Nothing special. This 80 gig Maxtor IDE drive will do the trick, I guess. Slightly satisfying parts. Look at how neat all of my 80 wires are. Aren't I just fucking sickening? Alright, it's all neat and tidy and put together. Now time for the closing. And when you close these Optiplexes, this bit here, be sure you're not gonna crush a cable, because I've done that before and it's not pretty. So Also, don't just put all the pressure on one side. Gently lower it down. Click. Alright. Power. And yay, it's working! Also, special shout out to the instant post times of this Optiplex. Alright, so I almost forgot to address the fan. I did blow it out with the compressor too, but a lot of this dust is just holding on. Okay, so no surprise here. All the rubber mounts for this fan just basically fell apart. Old electronics and rubber is a stupid situation because rubber doesn't always keep. So I'm going to have to replace these with screws, no biggie. Alright, so I didn't do the most perfect job on the plastic part of the fan assembly, but that's good enough. Now I'm going to go ahead and address the fan, and cleaning fans is always a little bit tedious because obviously you got to get in there to those blades. Again, this dust is pretty caked on there because the air compressor did jack shit, so whee! Alright, so I've been going at this for a while, and again, not a perfect job, but it looks a lot better. As you can see, I have amassed quite the collection of Q-tips here, and I'm covered in dust, so yay. Alright, and since I'm here, this fan, it's gliding pretty well, but it feels maybe a little grindy. So I am going to go ahead and lubricate this fan. To do this, I'm going to take this flathead and try to gently peel this sticker off. I want to try to preserve the sticker, but I've had mixed results in doing that. So let's just... Oh, it's separated. That's great. Yeah, there's no preservation of this sticker. So I am going to go ahead and cut me a little hole here. Alright, I'm going to put a little bit of lubrication in there. Work it in just a little bit. A little bit more. I wouldn't say fresh or good as new, but it's an improvement and it might extend its life a bit. Because, I mean, let's face it, this is a 19 or 20-year-old fan at this point. 18, 20, that range. And these things don't last forever. But, I'm just trying to give it a little boost if I can. Alright. That is so tacky. But, what are you gonna do? You know, and I said I was gonna do it later, but let's go ahead and get it out of the way, just so pretty much all the hardware stuff will be done. I'm gonna go ahead and replace the thermal compound on this heatsink and on the CPU. So basically, I've got some IPA on a paper towel, and I'm just gonna... We want to get all of this off if possible. So... Wow, that stuff was so dried out. We're already there. That's great. Alright, I'm using Arctic Silver 5, and oh boy, the controversial part. Oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? The rice method. Bum, bum, bum. Yay, it's time to really close this thing and... I don't know, get Windows on there. It's time for me to decide which version of Windows I'm going with. Okay, so I've decided to split the video here for now because, as I can imagine, this video is pretty long and boring. But at some point, I'll follow this up with the Windows setup and all that good stuff. And yeah. For the couple of people who stumbled their way here to this video, I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe. This video was kind of boring and crude, to say the least, and I fucked the audio up because I left my noise suppression on. Good job. Yeah, but bye.